I don't like talking about the bit because to me it's art. I wanted to meme myself.
Dude, oh my God, Zachirific. Is it cool if you get like an autograph or something?
Yeah, bro, I got you.
Oh,
I got
cool,
you.
dude.
Here, one sec. Got going right here.
Oh, nice, cool.
Let me see if I got a pen on me. Okay. All right. What's your name?
Gregory.
Okay. Oh wait, this marker's kind of ass. Here, let me get another one. Shit, what the fuck? Oh shit. Okay. I bet. There you go, brother.
Dude, thanks, man.
Yeah.
An in-depth breakdown on what exactly he's doing that is really making this whole complaining technique really work so well. There's a lot of concrete examples from him filming vlogs, but him also doing his TikToks. So we can really break it down, and there's certain psychological principles, certain psychological techniques that he is using that we can use as well. So without further ado, let's get into it. So I also want to just quickly mention that if you haven't seen the first video, I'll leave a link to it up here. But he's really been speaking these things into existence. Like, yeah, he's been joking about all this stuff, the way that he talks about it, but he's got an ad with Mr. Beast. He's got all these celebrities talking about him, and he's been getting money, getting noticed and notoriety from literally speaking these things into existence.
I really didn't want to have to make this video, but things have just been pretty hectic, so I feel I should address it. Are they really over? Zach doesn't post Sydney Sweeney for National Girlfriend Day. The reason I didn't post her is because me and her aren't talking anymore. Look, I wish that girl the best. Like, we had some great memories and shit, mainly probably her. And I truly cannot imagine the pain of losing me. Like, that's something I wouldn't wish on any of my worst enemies and shit. Now, as for all the speculation that I have been talking to a new girl, without saying too much, I am. Me and this girl have been talking. She is a celebrity, so I just wanted to get ahead of the tabloids while I'm like speaking on this situation. I won't tell y'all too much about her, but I'll give y'all some hints. So this is the new girl I'm talking to, but I won't tell y'all who it is. Okay, I'm gonna keep that on the down low. And before anyone goes to my Instagram, goes searching for like people that look like this, like, I told her not to follow me. And I don't follow her, so I just want to keep things private because I'm not ready to like tell y'all who it is yet. But just know that we get along great, and she's down bad, like it's insane. Like, I'm more like chill and like humble and shit, very mysterious in a way and nonchalant. So I'm just kind of like whatever. But it's going well.
Guys, I literally came to Target to get the Celsiuses, and I find the finest man, bro. He's walking around with this like backpack on. I'm so nervous. He's so fun.
You are too much. That's crazy. Wow. The fact that, she had to call me out is crazy because that was me that she was talking about for sure. But it's weird because on the other hand, like, I do just want to be able to shop without having like some like dime piece, like 10 out of 10 girl, just like, be able to see me and like go crazy. It's like, girl, like, you gotta like chill. Like, seriously, if I had like $1 for the amount of times I walk past some like 10 out of 10 girl, they're usually 10 out of 10s. I mean, it happens with like all chicks, but like if I had $1 for like every time I walk past some like girl and I just had to hear in the background, like, I just saw the hottest man I've ever, girl, like, bruh, like, can we be so for real right now? And like, I'm just, thank God I have my bag on me because like my bag is just where I keep like my pepper spray. Like, I know I need to carry it on the reg anyway, but I just had it in my bag. I had like the shoddy repellent, everything. To where if a girl does get close, I can be like, all right, let's take a couple steps back. Let's take a couple breathers. And also, could you put the clothes back on? Like, we're in a public space. You know what I'm saying? So look, I love y'all. It means the world to me that girls like be seeing me and like want me and shit. But let's just try and like contain that for a bit and like just let me live my life.
Luke, as an American Idol judge, I'm wondering, out of all the vocalists of all time, who would you want to hear audition on set?
I'm hearing some rumors of this guy named Zachirific.
But if I get on that stage, I might be the first person to even have a golden buzzer. And also for like the TV monitor's sake, like,
Best singer, and the girls always chase me, and I'm just the hottest man alive. That's not really that funny. What makes it funny is him setting up these absurd situations. We don't have to do that in our life necessarily, but we can make things over the top. We can agree and exaggerate. It's like a principle in comedy where you make something so absurd. It's an absurdifying technique, which I write about it in my book as well. But the idea is it's almost like an inside joke for yourself. So whatever you think is funny, you make it over the top, and then that bypasses the conscious mind. There's really not that much objection. If somebody was to come and he's coming and telling you, all these girls love me, I'm the hottest man alive, your conscious mind, you see him saying that, is kind of be like, where's the evidence for this? Like, why are you even telling me this? But because he sets it up in such an over the top way, he's like wearing the backpack. He's like, oh, you caught me. He's complaining about it. I can't go anywhere nowadays without just being stopped by these girls. And it's like, you got to chill, right? that whole thing also sets him up. The subtext of that, of his entire story, of his entire way of talking about these things and complaining about them, is that he is so desirable. The paparazzi are chasing him down. It's so over the top that the over the top nature of it makes it suggestible. It allows our subconscious minds, it almost produces a hypnotic effect. And that's what really great comedians do. That's what really charismatic people do. That's what anybody that is an influential type of person does, whether they're an influencer, whether they're in sales, anybody that is really influencing people in an effective manner is using this type of humor. The humor is always, he comes out on top at the end of his jokes. So I have some examples of this in my book as well, but somebody's like accusing you of being late. You can be like, yeah, I'm always fashionably late. And it's magnetic nonetheless. And again, this is a technique that comedians use because what is the likelihood that that's actually true? If you look like a normal put together person.
It took me like a couple hours, I think. I just was.
Leo wanted to put him in as his next co-star. That's what makes it funny and over the top. And he's able to use that kind of inversion, not technique here. These examples where he's like, it's just so hard being such a sex symbol. Women are always buying me drinks, hoping that they're going to get lucky, but they just only want me for my body. So, it's just that over the top. It's the over the top cockiness that makes this work. And again, it's this repetition. It's the repetition aspect where the more that you repeat something, the more that people believe it. And, I've talked about this in my most popular video. This is how governments, media platforms get you with the propaganda. It's the repetitive nature of it over and over and over again. The subconscious accepts it and it starts to take on a life of its own. Like this character that Zachirific has here has really taken on a life of its own, that even if he was to actually go and be like, actually, he posted a video the other day because of the TikTok ban. He was like, thank you guys so much. You guys have really changed my life and all this stuff. And people in the comments, there was a couple people that are like, he broke character, but then everybody else was like, no, bro, he's just actually being really humble, right? Like the character takes on a life of its own at a certain point. The exaggeration, this frame of reality has really become larger than life and taken on its own characteristics, really. He's embodied the archetype so much that the archetype has like become him.
Look, y'all.
He's talking about like, he's acting as if he doesn't want to be in the limelight, right? He'll say all these things and be like, yeah, I usually don't speak on this, but I just wanted to address this issue, like this issue in the tabloids, right, about him. So that's another way that it's the downplaying effect. He'll say all these very braggadocious things, but then be like, but I didn't want to say that, and that also contributes to the over the top nature of it.
Celebrity, of course you would have been there. How come you weren't there? It's like, bro, chill. Obviously I was invited, but
Could we ask you a question?
Always, of course. What are we sisters for?
If only by blood.
Yeah. But so what's up?
Well, me and the gals were wondering if we could practice the Gluck Gluck 9000 on you.
Yeah, right. I would hate it. I would just hate that. But if you guys need practice, right? Like, yeah.
What'd you say?
Huh? No, I didn't say anything. Yeah.
Yo, what's your...
Oh my gosh, I am so ready for the sleepover.
About that, Zach, we have to talk.
Yeah?
So my gay brother wants to meet you before the sleepover in case you're straight pretending to be gay.
Okay, well, why would I be faking? Literally, why would I be faking? Like, obviously I'm gay.
Yeah, but he just wants to make sure. So
Okay, yeah.
okay, so James, you want to come in here?
Hi. It's a pleasure.
You smell good. You know what you gotta do, don't you? Get on your knees, boy.
Oh my gosh, I am so ready for the sleepover.
I don't like talking about the bit. That's because he's covert and loyal to a false self-image. But that's okay, I'll talk about the bitch. The bitch. So I see Zachirific as an INFJ. And as an empathic male with gender dysphoria, he's a covert empath. And empaths at their worst would be so-called borderlines, a term invented by narcissists to project badness on empaths. And as a male, he would be a covert borderline, and covert borderlines act like wannabe covert narcissists. Covert narcissists are the sensor-feeler personalities, the ISFP, ESFP, ISFJ, ESFJ. I'm working on a covert narcissist couples video which will showcase the 4 covert narcissist types in a couple dynamic with a covert narcissist of their exact same type. And it's going to show they have this brand of like playing humble as fuck despite all their values revealing they're anything but. Despite their obvious addiction to narcissistic supply revealing they're anything but. And like I've said in other videos, empathic men with their gender dysphoria and their cultural conditioning, training them to be narcissist wannabes with narcissism as the definition of normalcy and success, end up mimicking the feminine, covert, vulnerable kind of narcissist rather than mimicking overt, masculine narcissists. So I just discovered this Zachirific a few days ago when YouTube suggested a video to me about manifesting by complaining. I thought that sounds interesting, manifesting by complaining. Most of the content on manifesting or law of assumption focuses on keeping positive mental conversations and not complaining, since whatever you complain about, you would perpetuate. And you shouldn't want to perpetuate the things you really don't want with complaining. So after my rant against religion in the video about Lori and Chad Daybell's podcast, I want to say that Neville Goddard's teachings about the law of assumption are not religious teachings. They are psychological principles. So I'm adding Zachirific to my playlist of covert empaths, covert borderlines, and wannabe covert narcissists, just like ENFP empath Lee Hammock, who is misdiagnosed with narcissism as a wannabe covert narcissist, and just like INFP Jimmy Knowles, an empath who also mimics the covert, vulnerable, humble as fuck variety of narcissists. So I'm assuming that Zachirific has been exposed to content on law of assumption and perhaps even Neville Goddard's teachings as an INFJ, and they are permeated through his so-called bit. And if you're talking about manifesting in 2025, like meatheads like Travis Kelce talk about manifesting, but you've never heard of INFJ Neville Goddard, then you really don't know anything about so-called manifesting or law of assumption. So don't even bother with so-called manifesting if you're not in tune with Neville Goddard's teachings. So if he has heard of Neville and law of assumption, and he's intentionally trying to apply those principles of manifestation, that makes this interesting enough. If he's not tuned into those teachings and he's really just trying to meme himself and how he really is in an exaggerated, funny way, that makes it even more of an interesting example for me to make, I think. I like when covert narcissists and covert narcissist wannabes insist on being themselves and showing who they really are, especially on video, especially before the internet was exploding with content on how to identify narcissists, because it's like a narcissist giving us educational examples of narcissism on autopilot unconsciously without even being aware of why they shouldn't or why they should be hiding certain traits. So I think empath guys act like covert narcissist wannabes, even if they aren't intentionally trying to manifest things through complaining and satire. So we see Zachirific having narcissistic values. Everything he desires as ideal shows he has an addiction to the drug called narcissistic supply, just like any other real narcissist. Like he's complaining about having so much money, all it does is annoy him by falling out in loads at his feet when he's trying to get a pen to sign autographs from fans who stop him in public. And he's reading books about how to get less pussy because the hottest girls are constantly hounding him, and he has the least impressive luxury cars of all his friend groups. So everything he wants to manifest is to achieve success according to narcissistic standards and definitions of success. The hot baddies, the endless cash, the luxury material items. And yet to manifest that, he puts on this humble as fuck so-called bit, which is more the real him and the real empath men as covert narcissist wannabes than it is a bit. So I've said in a lot of videos before that empath men are gender dysphoric. To be empathic is to be feminine. And if you're an empath in a male body, then you're gender dysphoric. So they feel like women in male bodies, and they act like they're straight, they play straight men, but they're actually what I refer to as covert lesbians. And I love the cringy, overly sexual videos Zachirific has made for me to use as examples of this. He makes videos about that put his gender dysphoria on full display. You know, he's pretending to be the gay friend to get into the girl's sleepover, and then being turned off if a gay guy is at the party too, expecting him to be gay with him. So I think gender dysphoric feeler personality men, they're pretty queer. And queer is a word that needed to be invented because gay didn't really fit. If they're thought of as gay, then they're expected to be attracted to men. And since they're attracted to women, they try to pass themselves off as straight. But they aren't gay or straight. They're what I call covert lesbian, because when they are with women, they are women in a covert lesbian relationship. They go well with bi or lesbian women who can appreciate the woman inside of him. So him manifesting Billie Eilish is believable since she's not straight. Straight hetero women who try to be with a gender dysphoric, empathic male like Zachirific will be very disappointed. His bit about grabbing the pepper spray and telling girls to put their clothes back on is what really happens when gender dysphoric bitches like Zach are with straight hetero women who want him to be a man for them. He feels so feminine inside, he doesn't want to be under pressure to be a man for them. Sometimes these guys will have flings that affirm their manhood to themselves, but they're no good for any relationship of longevity. They'll reject girls to affirm their sense of manhood to themselves and stuff. but really they reject them because they don't want to have to put on a man act for a straight woman when they feel like a woman themselves. So I think Zachirific sets a really good example of how to effortlessly manifest things with psychological principles of law of assumption. But I think empath men should want to set a better example and set the example of making a new definition of normalcy and success, one that is differentiated from the narcissist definition of normalcy and success. So as an over-empath female like me, trying to manifest money never goes that well because I tell myself, like, having a goal of just being wealthy just for the sake of it is not differentiating myself enough from narcissists and would be making me a narcissist wannabe. So I don't try to manifest loads of cash much with that in mind. So I think Zachirific should start manifesting things that differentiate him from narcissists instead of showcasing him being a wannabe covert narcissist, pursuing success by the narcissist definition. Manifest things that showcase his pride in being born an empath, not a narcissist. And lastly, I will say I didn't pay much attention to law of assumption type teachings most of my life, but I had a decade of research on personality disorders done before I did get into law of assumption and Neville Goddard. And one thing I remember taking a note of was the exact same tactics that narcissists use that we warn victims about, like gaslighting and revisionism, etc., living in a false reality, are a lot of the same techniques that are used in the law of assumption to create positive life states, positive mental conversations with the law of assumption. So narcissists can be like natural manifestors using the law of assumption, even if they don't know a thing about law of assumption. Narcissists are naturally wired to reframe things in their favor. If someone says they're ugly, they tell themselves they're the finest person ever born. If someone tells them they're broke, they tell themselves they're rich, just like Conor McGregor told himself he was rich when he was a plumber. Narcissists gaslight themselves and live in a false reality of their grandiosity, telling themselves they are way cooler than reality tells them they are, and this pumps up their self-concept. The law of assumption advises us to kind of divorce reality in our mental stage, just like the narcissist naturally does, and tell ourselves reality is actually way better than it is, until repetition of those mental conversations reveals some semblance of it in reality. So for us to recognize. So I think it's really interesting that in law of assumption, we're advised to do some of the things narcissists do naturally that we warn people show how delusional narcissists are, So I think Neville Goddard manifesting and law of assumption are amazing psychological principles and tools, and I see the nuances and weirdness there with the intersection of narcissism and how we shouldn't want to behave as narcissists, gaslighting ourselves and everyone else, living in so-called false realities. But narcissists actually manifest more so-called success in life because they are so ready and willing and used to and acclimated to deluding themselves and divorcing reality, divorcing external data so much more quickly than people who are not narcissists or narcissist wannabes. And Zachirific is a great example of that. As another empath male, covert empath male who has turned out like most empath men that I've seen as a wannabe covert narcissist with the same definition of success as narcissists. So empaths need to redefine the concept of normalcy and success using the law of assumption principles for the narcissist-free world.
Most of the men diagnosed with borderline personality disorder would be actually covert. And most of the women diagnosed with borderline personality disorder would be actually overt. A very similar situation exists nowadays with narcissistic personality disorder, where we could safely say that most of the classic overt narcissists are actually men, while most of the covert narcissists, and definitely inverted narcissists, codependent narcissists, are actually women. Most of the men diagnosed with borderline
version of narcissism is narcissistic supply. There's attention. What's the engine built for? The engine that chugs along on narcissistic supply, whether it's pity or adulation, grandiose or fragile, is to keep a fantasy going. They're living inside of a fantasy. And in order to do that, they have to recruit people into their inner world. They're just seeing things in a purely self-referential way. They're not a big fan of external data. They're not particularly interested in external truth. What they're interested in is fulfilling this narrative. Why? Because the engine is all about keeping a false self and a false narrative alive. This false self is grandiose.
Now let us address a common misconception. Acting as if you don't want attention doesn't mean becoming invisible or diminishing your light. on the contrary, means shining your light so brightly that you don't need to draw attention to it. It means being so secure in who you are that you don't need external validation. Think of the great spiritual teachers throughout history. They didn't seek attention or acclaim. They simply were who they were, and the world was drawn to their light. This is the power that resides within each of you. When you tap into your true nature, when you align with the God within, you naturally become a beacon of light in the world. My dear friends, understand this stands from a misstanding of your true nature. You seek attention because you believe you lack something, that you need something from the outside to complete you. But I tell you this, you are already complete. You are already whole. You are already one with the source of all creation. When you truly grasp this truth, when you embody it in your consciousness, the need for attention falls away naturally. You no longer seek validation from others because you understand that all the validation you need is already within you. You are the operant power in your life. You are the God of your universe. Now some of you may be wondering, but Neville, won't acting as if I don't want attention make me less successful in life? And to this I say, success is not about gaining attention or recognition from others. True success is about aligning with your divine nature and expressing it fully in the world. When you act from this place of alignment, when you move through the world as a complete and whole being, you naturally attract experiences that reflect this state of being. You find yourself in the right place at the right time. Opportunities seem to fall into your lap. People are drawn to your energy and want to work with you. This is not because you're seeking attention or trying to impress others. It's because you're vibrating at a frequency that aligns with your highest good. You're in harmony with the creative forces of the universe. And the universe responds in kind. Consider the story of Joseph in the Bible. He didn't seek attention or recognition. He simply did what was right, regardless of his circumstances. Whether he was a slave or a prisoner, he acted with integrity and excellence. And in due time, he was elevated to a position of great power and influence. This, my friends, is the power of acting as if you don't want anyone's attention. It's about focusing on being your best self, on expressing your divine nature, regardless of external circumstances. It's about trusting in the law of assumption, knowing that your inner state will inevitably be reflected in your outer reality. Now, let us delve even deeper into this principle. When you act as if you don't want anyone's attention, you are, in essence, surrendering your ego. You are letting go of the need to be seen, to be recognized, to be validated by others. And in this surrender, you open yourself up to a higher power. You see, my dear friends, the ego is like a veil that separates you from your true nature. It's the part of you that believes you are separate from God, separate from the source of all creation. When you surrender this ego, when you let go of the need for attention and recognition, you remove this veil. You allow your true nature, your divine self, to shine through. This is what it means to die to your old self and be reborn. It's not a physical death, but a death of the ego, of the false self that believes it needs validation from the outside world. And in this death, you are reborn as your true self, as the God-man that you truly are. When you operate from this place, when you act as if you don't want anyone's attention, you are allowing the God within you to express itself fully. You become a clear channel for divine inspiration. Ideas flow through you effortlessly. Creativity becomes your natural state of being. You find yourself guided to take actions that are in perfect alignment with your highest good. This, my friends, is the true meaning of success. It's not about accumulating wealth or fame or power. It's about aligning with your divine nature and allowing it to express itself fully in the world. And when you do this, when you act from this place of alignment, all those other things, wealth, recognition, influence, tend to follow naturally. But here's the key. You must not seek these things for their own sake. You must seek first the kingdom of God which is within you. You must align with your true nature, with the God within. And when you do this, when you act as if you don't need anyone's attention because you are already complete and whole, all these things will be added unto you. Now, some of you may be thinking, But Neville, this sounds too good to be true. Surely it can't be this simple. And to this I say, the truth is always simple. It's our human minds that complicate things.
So I want to add that INFJ Neville Goddard talked about the true definition of success in his lecture about acting as if you don't want anyone's attention. And he specifically said true success was not about pursuing wealth or fame or power. And I want to make it crystal clear that what we're seeing with Zachirific is not someone manifesting success by Neville Goddard's definition. What we're seeing is someone documenting their obvious addiction to the drug called narcissistic supply in the pursuit of success as defined by narcissists. This addiction to narcissistic supply is a way to overcompensate for their sense of inferiority from being gender dysphoric bitches in male bodies who are incapable of truly being men as covert empath males. So that's why I added in the excerpt from Neville's lecture about acting as if you don't want anyone's attention, to remind everyone that success as the narcissists define it is not the definition of success as INFJ Neville defines it. I want to rephrase how I'm saying some things, and I want to add on an exchange I had with Alex, the guy who made the original video about Zachirific achieving success via complaining using the law of assumption. And I'll say I assume that Alex is also a covert empath male who's a covert narcissist wannabe, and that's why he's all on board for Zachirific's manifesting of the narcissist definition of success. So after Alex posted his videos about Zachirific manifesting by complaining, he posted a video with a title that said something like, "Manifest like a prophet with law of assumption." And I left a comment that said, "Manifesting like a prophet or manifesting like a wannabe covert narcissist?" And he replied, "I don't know what this means." And I said, "Your video about Zachirific achieving success using law of assumption, with his definition of success being cash and hoes, which is the narcissist definition of success." Alex, obviously triggered and defensive, replied, quote, yes, because if someone attracts love and wealth, they're a narcissist. But if they struggle and self-sabotage, they're a saint. Manifest wisely, my friends." Laughing emoji. And I replied, "There's no love to be found anywhere in Zachirific's manifestations, only an obvious addiction to the drug called narcissistic supply." And then he deleted my comments. So that's his defensive reply, which is typical, assuming he's also a male empath, covert empath, and a covert narcissist wannabe, just like Zachirific, who's dependent on the narcissistic supply garnered by following Zachirific's example and getting people to buy into the fantasy that they're selling as if they're achieving success when all they are doing is showing the world what an addiction to the drug called narcissistic supply looks like, just like any other actual narcissist. So if you see male empaths like this Alex and Zachirific who are putting their obvious addiction to the drug called narcissistic supply on display, the only response should be, is narcissists? Ew. Narcissist wannabes? Ew. Addiction to the drug called narcissistic supply? Ew. Living as if you're pursuing the definition of success according to narcissists? Ew. They are perverting Neville's teachings as wannabe covert narcissists, and they're not a good example to follow for anything except being a better covert narcissist wannabe. I also want to say that empaths are intense emotionally, and they're the ones prone to so-called borderline, and they do things to extremes. And so what we see with empath men who have been conditioned culturally to mimic narcissists and believe that pursuing narcissistic supply is synonymous with normalcy and success is that empath men mimic narcissists to extremes, to where it's like they're even more narcissist than the actual narcissist. So we're seeing that in Zachirific's videos where he's out narcissisting covert narcissists as an empath. And in a future video, I will point out how INTP empath Elon Musk does the same as a wannabe covert narcissist, mimicking covert narcissists to extremes. Okay, so to say this another way, INFJ Neville Goddard said that when you act like you don't want anyone's attention, then all of a sudden you will start living on the vibration of like your highest and truest self. And that will be the definition of success. Okay? But pursuing success by the narcissist definition of success is contrary to all of that. Because pursuing success by the narcissist definition, which is fame, wealth, and, hits of the drug called narcissistic supply, that to be loyal to that addiction to the drug called narcissistic supply, you have to die. Your true self has to die to your false self-image that you're upholding. And so the so-called bit that Zach is putting on Zachirific is actually the upholding of his false self-image in his pursuit of the drug called narcissistic supply that he is pursuing in a state of wannabe covert narcissism, because that's what our culture has told him that he should want. That's what our culture of majority population narcissists has told him is the definition of success. But it isn't the definition of success as INFJ Neville Goddard defined it. So again, Neville says that success is being your highest, truest self, the real you that you can be when you act like you don't want anyone's attention. But when you're pursuing success by the narcissist definition, which is wealth and fame, then you are wanting people's attention. And then you have to uphold a false self-image to get that attention. So you're not achieving success because you're not allowed to be your true self when you pursue success by the narcissist definition. So I hope I made that clear.
The fact that my girl is out here telling my business is crazy. Like, I straight up told you not to tell the girls, and now you posting it on the internet? That's so embarrassing. You ever thought maybe I don't want that out there, that information out there, that my shit is massive? Fuck, it's embarrassing, bro. Like, maybe I'm insecure about that. Maybe I look down and I'm like, damn, like, this shit is so big. I gotta carry that weight. I gotta bear that burden. And you're over here just like, oh, friends, gather around. Look at how big it is. Like, bro, like, I can't. The blatant disrespect is insane.